Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where today we're going to talk about Jayla in Star Trek Fleet Command and how she can apply to your game and how she works, and in general, if she's going to improve your swarm fighting every single day or if you should just leave her alone. Now we want to talk about this today, and I scheduled this video for the morning because she's in the event store. And while we wrap up duality, one of the big questions is, what do I go after? And we always point towards officers because some of the sourcing can be either impossible or really difficult, which is the case for Jayla. Her sourcing is extremely difficult. The only way to currently naturally source her in the game is to go through and run swarmadas. And you have to be the leader of the swarmada to even get a chance. That's about a between 10 and 15% chance to get those Jayla shards if you're the one that launches the armada. That's not amazing odds. And even then, you might not get enough shards for a while to go after and get what you really want, which is potential officer to make swarm grinding easier. Even those, swarm Sundays where we're trying to, as higher level players, get the biotics, or lower level players to get the bio minerals in your refinery. Did have someone ask me earlier in the day where we were talking about the various things that you can go after and should you be turning in these? Yes, no matter what level you are, I want to remind you, if you're pulling bio minerals or biotics, don't save them, just spend them, because as you level up, you're going to unlock better, but you still only can pull one set a day. So as you're going through that pull, get what you need and continue to progress. And then we'll work on going through the Franklin in another video if you need a refresher for that. But as far as Jayla goes, let's talk about her actual ability as an officer. Now, she's very unique in that she's basically the only officer in the game who currently is solo in terms of she's her own group. Jayla is the faction. I guess it's just Jayla. That's it. So you're not having to debate, should I run synergy or should I run something else? Basically, you'll run Jayla in one of two crews primarily. We'll talk about those different crews here in just a second. So Captain's ability is Scavenger. Increases the amount of resources you get from killing hostiles by 100% when in the Franklin or the Franklin A. Now, why is this important? Well, you can actually use this to your advantage in a couple of different ways. One, obviously, if you're trying to get the most loot as possible when doing your swarms, this is going to be a good way to do that by running her as captain with a few different combos. Now, will that be the best in terms of getting you the most number of kills? Not necessarily, but it can result in you getting more loot. I do want to make a quick note here. The abilities of Jayla in terms of how effective she is on your Franklin or your Franklin A is going to depend on a couple things. One, the level of the swarm, and two, your research. There are definitely some times where some players will say, hey, this is not near as good as you said it would be, because their research is not up to where a lot of the ships are when we're doing our comparisons and doing our log testings. There are a lot of things that you need to consider, including mitigation. So if you've got a Franklin that's naturally starting to get high mitigation against swarms, then having more shots, which is the officer ability of Jayla, is more important than having a damage reduction, because you can end it quicker with more damage to the hull of the ship. So let's take a look at this ability, which is very, very important, and we'll talk about why in just a second. When Jayla is on the Franklin, got to be on the Franklin. So you're automatically thinking one trick pony. I get that. Don't worry. There's a little bit more to her, a little bit more depth. When on the Franklin or the Franklin A, increases the number of shots by 1 naturally as a tier 1 officer. So one of the main things that get asked to me is Jayla out of the box better than, say, Pike Moreau Talon? So if you were to run this loadout, let's go ahead and back out and talk about loadouts. If you were to run this loadout on my Franklin A right now, Pike Moreau Talon, would I get more kills with this, or would I get more kills if I swapped out and went Jayla? Now, for a lot of players, especially those caught up in the research, this will be an immediate improvement for higher level swarms. You really won't see a difference or almost any difference at all at a lower level swarm with a Franklin. Now, this can vary, once again, based on a few different things. But keep in mind that things like firing patterns, mitigation stats, all this can vary if you're fighting a level 25 hostile versus level 49 hostile. But, we've talked about who has, given us screenshots before. I'll show you one here, but also the numbers that they have. When they were going against these 49s, which are their dailies, they're able to get double the amount of kills running Pike Moreau Jayla that they are running Pike Moreau Talon. However, talking to another player, and we'll use Fleet Admiral Mateo as an example, they actually get versus 39s because of research, ship firing patterns, things like that, or the firing rate of Jayla. They actually get this basically the exact same as Pike Moreau Talon and see no difference running theirs. So it's going to vary based on who you are. the higher the level of the hostile, the more beneficial Jayla becomes. Kind of like how we talk about with high level grinding, Chin no longer matters because she deactivates at 51, and you start using Trinity officers like Marcus, Sharvin, and Kang for going after those. But here, in this particular example, we would be using Pike Moreau Talon versus Pike Moreau Jayla. I see an immediate improvement in how many I can kill going against 41s for me. On the Franklin A, we seem to find that it's pretty consistent that Pike Moreau Jayla is an immediate upgrade to Pike Moreau Talon. But this can vary player to player. Test it out for yourself if you go and get her. The main point I'm making is you will see immediate value even if you don't want to maybe go the depth of unlocking her. And what I mean by that is, if you are like me, I was 12 shards away from getting her in the store. That's not enough for me to want to risk spending the rare Armada credits, because it costs rare Armada credits to source her naturally in the game. And even then, it's an RNG. You could run 10 rare Armadas worth of Swarmadas and not get any, or you could run 10 and get 4. That's the RNG of Scopely, and I don't like relying on that. I like relying on something I can do for sure, and that is what this event store is. That said, if you happen to only have 50, well, now we're going to be spending 300,000 of our resources here to actually get her. Is that worth it? It's very debatable, especially based on where you are as a player. Something like a second Stella, a Meridian skin, that's more important than unlocking Jayla. But let me talk about a couple other things that you can do, because it's not just Pike Moreau Jayla that could be useful. We can also use her in another way. So if we take this crew, for example, we're going to replace Grush with Jayla. If you're curious why the heck we've got Grush on a Franklin. And this is my old tier 8 Franklin, just because, well, collectors. Running Jayla, Beverly, Kang. This is another one, and this is also going to be something you see more often in something like a Swarmada scenario. Now, not necessarily going to do this as much against regular grinding, but you can, and for a lot of players, see better results than running a few different other combinations. The other good part of this is if you happen to have 2 ships, and there are those out there who always want to have a Franklin A and a Franklin. Well, if you had both, you could run this one. Now, I do want to take a note that your Kang is going to be key here. If your Kang is not high enough in terms of tier, you would run something like Jayla, Bev, and then Talon. And there's also always this debate, who do you run as captain, Beverly or Jayla? This, once again, will vary player to player. If your Beverly is high enough to help give you that shield regen, and you're noticing that you're losing shields in a fight because of various things like research, and you're not mitigating enough of the opponent's damage, and your shields are going down, you're taking more to the hull, then Beverly as captain simply has more value because she's going to keep those shields up, meaning you take less hull damage. However, if you're fighting a hostile where you're never losing shields, this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're regenerating shields, because a shield that's active is going to stop 80% of whatever damage makes it through mitigation. That's where her secondary ability comes in, and that's what's important. So it all comes down to what you're fighting. If you're hitting a level 41 swarm and noticing your shields are going down with Jayla as captain, then running Beverly is going to be better, but you'll take less loot. And this goes back to what I said before. What is it that you're really trying to do in terms of what's your goal? Are you trying to finish, for example, your Swarm Sunday event, which means you need more kills than more loot? Then probably want to go with whatever gives you the most survivability. But for most players, they'll find something like Pike Moreau Jayla is an immediate improvement. The reason being, by the way, for those curious, because I haven't directly stated it, let me state it now. Pike Moreau works on Jayla's ability, giving you even more shots than you have before. And that's been working for well over a year, so I'm not worried about Scopely making any changes to that. That's simply how it works, and the mechanic of it checks out and has so since she was released into the game. Now, I do want to show you a quick little handy trip that you can use on a regular Franklin. One of the things that Jayla can give you an advantage of, there's a lot of players out there who love the antique refinery. That is getting those little traders, those little dang Ferengis that people talk to me all the time. Where are they at? When do they spawn? Where are they at? When do they spawn? They're all over the place, okay? They're basically active at any given time, but now there's 4 level 33 systems. You're seeing them more often. What you can do here is with Jayla as captain, scavenger, click the wrong ability. As captain, it works exactly like you might read it does. And here's some picture proof of it on the screen. As you can see, for those of you who like going after those Latinum antiques, this can be a way to get more bang for your buck. You still have to spin a transwarp cell. You still have to go hunt the Ferengi trader. You still have to make sure that it drops and you get it. However, this is proof positive that you can go and get more than you necessarily expected. 5 Ferengi traders turned into 10 Latinum antiques. That's going to be big for a lot of players, and that little bit of tidbit maybe makes her worth it for you, giving you the ability to maybe go after those lucrative mining systems, or, you know, whatever it is that you want to try to get through that store in your refinery. Now, just to show people where that's at real quick, in case you do not know, if you go to your refinery and then go over to your Borg tab, you'll find the Latinum Antique Refinery. Right here. Latinum Antique Refinery, where you get the epic Latinum cells, transwarp cells, which you need anyway, tokens, and then lucrative transwarp cells to go to the special systems that are out there in the galaxy. And this is the one that a lot of people want. They want that lucrative cell to go to those portions of space where they can mine with big nodes, fast and generally unbothered. So this is a tactic you can use to hopefully speed up that process as well. In general, I do think that Jayla has value. She's just limited in what she's used for. She's only good on the Franklins, which means she's generally only good for swarms or swarm modders. But you should see a significant boost in your performance against those using Jayla. And you can even sneak her around and use her for a couple of other things with that captain's ability, which is pretty handy. Just remember, she's limited to the Franklin. Hope this answered your questions. Hope it helped you out. And if it did, like the video. Just like this. It's a thumb. I don't know why I did it like that. Live long and prosper. They say for the Space Cowboys. Deuces. That's me. I appreciate you watching, supporting as always. Love you. We'll catch you on the next one. Deuces. I'm out. Bye.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.